Here's a fact that will change how you think about the future of warfare. The Pentagon just made a decision to put an AI system that's been banned in multiple countries for generating offensive content at the heart of America's military operations. They didn't choose Google. They didn't choose OpenAI. They chose Grok, Elon Musk's controversial, unfiltered AI, to power everything from autonomous drone swarms to kill chain execution. Why would the world's most powerful military deliberately choose the most controversial AI on the market? Welcome to Mindcast. I'm Will, and today we're diving deep into one of the most consequential technology decisions in modern military history. In January 2026, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced the full integration of xAI's Grok into what's no longer called the Department of Defense. It's now officially the Department of War. I've just finished analyzing a fascinating document called the Iron Helix, which breaks down the strategic, technical, and ideological forces behind this decision. What I discovered will change how you think about the intersection of technology, warfare, and politics. By the end of this episode, you'll understand 3 critical insights: why America rejected responsible AI for warfare, how orbital edge computing is revolutionizing military strategy, and what this means for the global AI arms race that's already begun. Let's start with the most striking element of this story. The Pentagon isn't called the Pentagon anymore. It's now the Department of War. This isn't just bureaucratic rebranding. The name change signals a fundamental philosophical shift from deterrence and defense to what they call active lethality and dominance. This transformation is operationalized through something called the AI Acceleration Strategy, launched with an explicit mandate to eliminate legacy bureaucratic blockers and unleash experimentation. But here's the key insight. This strategy represents a complete rejection of what the previous administration called responsible AI. Now, what exactly is responsible AI? It's a framework that emphasizes ethical guardrails, bias mitigation, and exhaustive safety testing before deployment. Sounds reasonable, right? But the Hegseth doctrine views these constraints not as safeguards, but as vulnerabilities, self-imposed shackles in what they see as an existential arms race with countries like China, who aren't operating under similar ethical constraints. This brings us to the 3 converging vectors that explain why Grok was chosen. The first is ideological synchronization. Secretary Hegseth stated unequivocally that AI will not be woke, and that Pentagon systems must operate without ideological constraints that limit lawful military applications. This is a direct response to what happened with Google's Project Maven. Remember 2018? Thousands of Google employees signed a letter protesting a Pentagon contract, stating that Google should not be in the business of war. This internal revolt led to resignations and ultimately forced Google to abandon the project. For a Department of War trying to move at wartime pace, this kind of workforce rebellion is unacceptable. Here's where it gets fascinating from a military perspective. Grok's unfiltered nature, controversial in civilian applications, is viewed as a feature, not a bug, from military scenarios. Think about it. If you're training an AI to understand enemy tactics through red team exercises, you need it to think like a ruthless adversary. An AI that refuses to generate aggressive tactical options due to safety guidelines can't effectively function in military war games where the goal is to understand how to destroy an enemy. But ideological alignment is just the beginning. The second vector, infrastructure vertical integration, is where this story becomes truly revolutionary. Unlike Google or Microsoft, which offer primarily software capabilities,
xAI is part of the Elon Musk ecosystem that includes SpaceX and Starshield. This creates what the document calls a privatized kill chain. Picture this scenario. Traditional cloud AI, like what Google and OpenAI offer, lives in massive data centers on the ground. In a combat situation, sending drone surveillance footage from a battlefield in the Pacific to a data center in Virginia, processing it and sending targeting orders back creates dangerous latency. In the era of hypersonic missiles that travel at 5 times the speed of sound, milliseconds can mean the difference between victory and catastrophic defeat. Enter Starshield, SpaceX's dedicated military satellite network. This isn't just communication infrastructure, it's potentially the world's first orbital edge computing system. Imagine intelligence gathered by satellite sensors, processed by AI running on space-based computers, and transmitted directly to autonomous weapon systems via laser links, all without touching the vulnerable terrestrial internet or relying on third-party cloud providers. The third vector is operational velocity. The Department of War has created 7 pace-setting projects designed to embed AI into the core of warfighting functions. Projects like SwarmForge, which develops autonomous systems fighting with and against AI, and Agent Network, which creates AI agents capable of executing the entire kill chain from target identification to engagement authority. The timeline is aggressive, full deployment by early 2026. Now, this brings us to our second key insight, the technical challenges and security risks that come with choosing speed over safety. Here's the paradox. The very features that make Grok attractive to the military also create unprecedented vulnerabilities. The document reveals that Grok has been documented making up facts with high confidence, what AI researchers call hallucination. In a civilian context, this might be embarrassing. In a military context, an AI hallucinating a naval blockade, misidentifying a commercial airliner as a hostile fighter, or generating a false missile launch signature could trigger catastrophic escalation between nuclear powers. There's also what's called the air gap challenge. Classified military networks are physically separated from the internet for security. But one of Grok's key features is real-time access to social media platforms like X. This feature simply cannot function on air-gapped classified networks without violating basic security protocols. So the very thing that makes Grok unique might be stripped away when deployed to the most critical systems. Perhaps most concerning is what researchers call prompt injection vulnerability. Uncensored models like Grok are more susceptible to adversarial inputs, carefully crafted messages that could cause the AI to leak classified data or execute unintended commands. Enemy intelligence services could theoretically craft social media posts specifically designed to manipulate military AI systems. This brings us to our third critical insight, the geopolitical implications. The integration of Grok isn't just changing American military doctrine, it's accelerating a global transformation in how nations approach AI and warfare. First, we're witnessing the rise of what the document calls tech defense oligarchs. This decision consolidates enormous power in the hands of a few individuals. Elon Musk, Palmer Luckey of Anduril, Peter Thiel of Palantir. The message to traditional defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon is clear. Adapt to software speed and commercial innovation or be bypassed entirely. But this creates what analysts call key person risk on an unprecedented scale. By integrating Grok for cognition, Starshield for transport, and SpaceX for launch capabilities, the Department of War has essentially made one individual, Elon Musk, critical to America's military nervous system. Unlike traditional defense contractors spread across multiple companies and leaders, this concentrates enormous geopolitical leverage in the hands of someone who is essentially a private geopolitical actor with business interests in China. Internationally, this decision is sending shockwaves. Countries that have banned or restricted Grok due to its offensive content generation may find it challenging to maintain interoperability with American military systems. This could create friction in coalition operations, where data sharing is essential for mission success. Most significantly, China is likely viewing this integration as validation of its own military-civil fusion strategy. Beijing has been criticized for blending civilian tech companies with military applications. Seeing America effectively do the same thing, fusing its most dynamic private tech capabilities with its military machine, will probably accelerate China's integration of companies like Baidu and Tencent into PLA modernization efforts, intensifying the global AI arms race. So, what does all this mean for you? Let me share 3 concrete takeaways that extend far beyond military applications. First, we're witnessing a fundamental shift in how institutions approach risk. The Pentagon's choice represents a bet that speed and capability are more valuable than caution and consensus. This same trade-off between velocity and safety is playing out across industries, from autonomous vehicles to medical AI to financial systems. Second, vertical integration is becoming a decisive competitive advantage in high-stakes industries. Companies that control the entire stack, from hardware to software to services, have significant advantages over those relying on partnerships. Think about how Apple's control of both hardware and software gives it advantages over Android manufacturers, or how Tesla's control of batteries, software, and manufacturing gives it advantages over traditional automakers. This principle is now applying to national security. Third, we're seeing the emergence of what we might call ideological AI alignment. Different AI systems are increasingly designed to reflect different value systems and operational philosophies. This isn't just about technical capabilities, it's about worldview. As AI becomes more prevalent in education, healthcare, governance, and daily life, the question of whose values are embedded in these systems becomes critically important for society. The Pentagon's integration of Grok represents more than a technology procurement decision. It's a signal about how America plans to compete in an increasingly dangerous world. The Department of War is betting that wartime AI will be more effective than peacetime AI, that operational speed matters more than perfect safety, and that vertical integration provides decisive advantages in great power competition. But as the document concludes, this decision trades bureaucratic risk for operational risk. The Department of War is accelerating into 2026 with a powerful new engine, but it has removed many traditional safeguards. The success of this experiment will depend not on whether Grok is politically correct, but on whether it proves competent, secure, and controllable when milliseconds matter in real conflicts. The laboratory for this experiment isn't a controlled environment. It's the real world of geopolitical competition and potential conflict. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the implications reach far beyond military applications into how we think about AI, risk, and the future of human institutions. That's it for today's episode of Mindcast. If this analysis changed how you think about AI, military strategy, or the intersection of technology and geopolitics, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the ideas shaping our world. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, the future is being written right now by the decisions being made today.